You're watching Pedestal by Ashley Sargeant Hagan. Chapter 25. The three headed down Kensington Road toward Royal Albert Hall. "So," began Philip, "any news?" Edwin shook his head. Not a word. "Are you talking about that girl from the birthday party?" asked Chloe, pouting, her penciled brows furrowed. Edwin ignored her. "I had an idea, though," he said to Philip. "She has a brother and a father. I wonder if I can get information on them. She may be there with her family." Philip looked up sheepishly. "I may have some information on that." "What do you mean?" "Well," he said apologetically, "you know Jeff works in the Home Office now." "Yes." Cyril Jefferson was an old schoolmate of Philip's and Edwin's. "I asked Jeff to look into it for me. Do a background check, so to speak. It was actually right after she left England the first time, before your birthday party." Edwin glared at Philip. "Why doesn't he trust my judgment?" "Do you want to know what he found out or not?" continued Philip. "Fine." "He says she does have a brother. He's in the Marines, but he's on some sort of secret mission somewhere and can't be reached right now. Apparently he did take karate, won some championships." "I think karate is so cool," commented Chloe. "Those karate guys can do so many tricks. I should take karate. I'm going to tell my manager when I get back to the hotel." Philip exchanged an irritated look with Edwin. "Her mother was of Turkish descent from a wealthy family who left the country after World War I. Her father was an American businessman. Something to do with shipping oil." "Was?" Edwin asked. "Both parents are dead, died in a small plane accident about 5 years ago." Edwin's shoulders dropped. "So a dead end," he sighed. "Afraid so." They walked in silence. Philip had the somber expression of a doctor who has just given a fatal prognosis. Edwin stuffed his hands in his pockets. His obvious disappointment quickly turned to anger and self-pity. It doesn't matter. She doesn't matter. Police cars in front of the Swan, people gathered, that couple in the orangery who couldn't get through, and Adriana was there all the time. At the palace gate, pretending to be oblivious to what was going on behind her. Sitting at the orangery, passively listening to the American couple complain. Suddenly her polite smile turned into a mocking sneer, and I almost got away with it. No. Edwin pushed the thoughts out of his mind. Whatever she is, she can't be a killer. "What's that?" asked Chloe, pointing with admiration at a large, extremely ornate golden monument. "That's the Albert Memorial," explained Philip, "to honor Queen Victoria's husband, Prince Albert." "That's what I need," she said. The two men looked questioningly at her. Chloe was staring up at the monument, a dreamy, faraway expression in her wide blue eyes. "I need a statue like that. Of me, of course." Edwin started to laugh, but stopped short. She's not joking. She continued making plans in her own mind. "It would be golden like that, with all kinds of carving on it. I could use it as part of my stage set. Oh my gosh, wouldn't it be great?" She clutched Edwin's arm ecstatically. "I could have the dancers carry it out. No, I've got it. I'll paint myself gold and be the statue myself." Edwin exchanged wide-eyed looks with Philip, who covered his mouth with his hand to stifle a smile. "Oh, Edwin, this is going to be the most spectacular show idea yet. I'll come out as the statue on a throne, and the dancers can carry me out, and then I'll come down the steps and sing Queen of Everything." She wrapped her arms around herself and grinned at the Albert Memorial. "Thank you, Edwin," she said rapturously. "For what?" he asked. "For bringing me to this... Whose memorial did you say it was?" "Prince Albert, husband of Victoria. You would have learned about him in Kensington today." "Oh, yeah. Didn't he die or something? And then she only wore black." She shuddered. Such a horrible fashion statement, and she got literally fat. "She was in mourning," Philip said quietly, trying not to be offended. "The whole fashion community was in mourning," she said, "but I'll be golden and skinny. Don't you think I'll be beautiful all golden and stuff?" She batted her eyes at Edwin. Looking back, Edwin couldn't decide whether it was her narcissism, her complete disregard for a mourning queen, or simply that he was angry about Adriana. But instead of making a benign compliment in return, Edwin said, I think you'll look ridiculous." Watching her face blanch white made him secretly pleased, even though he knew it could backfire on him. "What?" she demanded. He could see the rage behind her eyes. "Interesting, so near the surface. I think making yourself into a golden statue would be narcissistic and arrogant and shows how out of touch with reality you are." "Slow down, mate," warned Philip, placing a hand on his shoulder. "I have never been so offended in my life," Chloe shouted. Her bodyguards moved in closer. "I've been a superstar since I was 16 years old because I've always had great ideas. Everyone says so. I even write my own songs, most of the time." "Of course everyone says you're great, because if they didn't, they'd be fired." Chloe screamed with rage, stamping her feet on the sidewalk. "I'm going back to my hotel, and I'm going to be a golden statue, and I'm not going to be your friend." She pushed her way through Edwin and Philip, tossing her golden hair, her red hood bobbing behind her. The bodyguards marched after her. One began hailing a cab. "You're a horrible man, Edwin Sterling," she shouted over her shoulder as she waited on the corner for her cab. "I don't blame that other girl one bit for refusing to talk to you anymore." As he watched, jealousy rose up in her. It was more important for her to be Edwin Sterling's girlfriend than it was to save face. "But if you want to be my friend again, Edwin Sterling," she sneered, pointing a shaking finger at him, "you're going to have to apologize." She folded her arms and glared at him, waiting for him to do so. He didn't. Instead, he gestured a salute at her and began walking the other way. Philip followed. "I'm at the Ace Hotel," she called after him. Neither man said a word until they had put some distance between themselves and the golden statue. "How old is Chloe?" Edwin asked Philip after a time. "I don't know, 24? Edwin nodded. "I don't think she matured past the glorious age of 16, he observed. He couldn't keep himself from grinning. They both started laughing. Edwin wiped tears from his eyes. "I can't believe you said that to her," Philip said, still chuckling. "I don't know what came over me, but I guess I can't be her friend anymore," he said with mock sadness. "Unless you apologize," said Philip in his best Chloe voice. "She's at the Ace Hotel." They laughed some more. "What a day this has been, full of surprises," Edwin said. "You're telling me," said his friend. Edwin took a more serious tone. "Thanks for trying to find out about Adriana's family, even though I suspect you were looking for dirt on her." "I love a good mystery, same as you, Dr. Hanover," Philip explained. "Adriana's disappearance has me just as puzzled. I wish I could find her for you. It's odd, though, her being at the Swan the day of the bombing." "I don't want to think about it." "Do you think she knows him?" Philip mused. "She was in both places at the time of—" "What are you suggesting?" Edwin snapped. "I don't know. Calm down." Philip glanced around him. "Lower your voice, Edwin. This is serious stuff." "She's not a killer, Philip. I won't believe it." Philip wasn't quick to agree. "Well," he said finally, "she obviously wasn't the attempted shooter at the museum. He's dead." "So she's a bomber?" "Why was she there?" Philip demanded. "I don't know. Maybe she did know him and came for a visit," Edwin suggested, "and then failed to mention it to you when it's all over the news." Edwin shook his head. He remembered the sound of her voice over the phone. "Why should I care about Mr. Tastan?" "I won't believe she's a murderer, Philip. There's got to be another explanation." Philip stopped walking and faced his friend. "I do want you to be happy, Edwin," he insisted. "I don't want her to be involved in this. I hope she's not. And I'm sorry I couldn't be more helpful in finding her family or something." Edwin nodded. "Sometimes I wish I actually was, Dr. Hanover," he joked grimly. "Then I'd be able to make sense of all this." "We need better writers," Philip agreed.